Good evening. I'd like to call the public session to order at 7:49 p.m. for the Board of Selectmen meeting of May 6, 2024. Not sure if this is actually being broadcast on YouTube or not. If it is not, it will be taken from the cable stream and uploaded tomorrow, or as soon as practical after that.
Don't forget to unmute.
Thank you. All right. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We started at 6:30 with a non-public session. We interviewed 11 candidates for Chase Park. Just so you know what we've been doing for the last hour plus. Anyone here for public comment? All right. Seeing none, I think the first order of business we have on the agenda is the reappointment of committee members. We had Denise Purington and David Lundeen here last week and did interviews. We didn't make any motions for those reappointments last week because the board thought we needed background checks per town requirements on the document called Policy on Boards, Commissions, and Committees. Specifically, it was paragraph C, item number 3. As we discussed back on April 8th, this policy was written in 2012 and unearthed on March 29th, 2024. It was immediately forwarded to the Board of Selectmen once discovered. T.A. Bolton sent it to everyone on March 29th, 2024, the same day it was discovered. It was researched and determined to still be a valid policy. During the April 8th meeting, this board, the Board of Selectmen, had discussed it and agreed to put it on the web and send it to the boards, committees, and commissions as it was a valid policy. The policy was loaded to the town website shortly after the April 8th meeting. I don't have the exact date, but I verified it sometime later in the week that it was there. I cannot tell you how long it was not being followed by the town, but now that it's known and determined to be valid, I personally cannot ignore it. I will follow it until such time as it is determined to require formal change or cancellation. I incorrectly assumed last week that it was sent to the chairs, if not all of the members, of the active boards, committees, and commissions per our April 8th meeting. It was verified after we adjourned last week that it was not sent to anyone on the boards. Secondly, I'd like to address the one-year appointments. There's been public confusion as to why one-year appointments are being done for Park. I'd like to thank Mr. Smith and the Mans for pointing out this confusion. I apologize that I may have caused or at least contributed to that confusion. A representative of Parks and Rec has been before this board and the prior board several times over the last months, since I've been on the board in October, many times. And two of the discussion points we've had with that representative were bylaws and appointments. And Parks and Rec is committed to creating bylaws, and during those same discussions, it was conveyed that it wasn't clear which current volunteer was serving out what term. So during those discussions, the park rep indicated that they would address the terms at the same time they would address the bylaws. The Board of Selectmen agreed that once Park straightened out those memberships, we'd gladly revisit and formally amend the appointment end dates correspondingly. Last week, I imprecisely referred to both of these actions together as bylaws. No excuse, but it was because we discussed both of those actions for Park being completed simultaneously. I verbally lumped them together under the larger action of bylaws. So yes, there is an RSA which states that appointments will be for 3 years, and that's RSA 35-B. As I just mentioned, prior meetings with the park rep, it was not clear which current volunteers were serving out which terms. Instead of stopping all appointments, it was agreed during those discussions to appoint for 1 year and have Park Commission figure out the membership details and revisit with the Board of Selectmen to formally adjust those appointment dates once Park had figured it out. The decision was made solely not to hinder Park in performance of their duties. Ms. O'Donnell and Mr. Beeler were both appointed in March to 1-year terms under this understanding. If the board wants to change that decision or change the policy on boards, committees, and commissions, now is the time to do that before we talk about appointing these 2 members that are before us this evening.
If I can have a couple minutes.
Certainly.
This weekend I was looking up some information, and I went on the NHMA website and found a little bit of clarification on, I guess, that portion of our policy. So our policy states that employees and/or volunteers who work with or around children or elderly persons, enter the homes of citizens, or collect or manage money, will be subject to a criminal background check per RSA 41-9B. All volunteers and employees of the Park and Recreation Commission will be required to take a criminal background check prior to being employed or appointed as a volunteer. I think there's this section of this policy may be misleading, may not be appropriate to be in this policy, should be in the personnel policy, and the reason for that is from the M&A website, I found that although RSA Chapter 41 is helpfully titled Choice and Duties of Town Officers and lists a number of required and optional municipal officers, also known as municipal officials, the chapter does not actually distinguish between officials and employees of the municipality. The distinction is found in the New Hampshire Public Employee Labor Relations Law, RSA 273-1:A. It states in relevant part that a public employee is any person employed by a public employer, except persons elected by popular vote, persons appointed to office by the chief executive or legislative body of the public employer, persons whose duties imply a confidential relationship to the public employer, or persons in a probationary or temporary status or employed seasonally, irregularly, or on call. For the purposes of this chapter, however, no employees shall be determined to be in a probation status who shall have been employed for more than 12 months or who has an individual contract with this employer, nor shall an employee be determined to be in a temporary status solely by reason of the source of funding of the position in which he is employed. Then it goes on, is there some sort of at-a-glance test we can use to determine whether someone may qualify as an employee or a municipal official? Answer, yes. Municipal employees, just like all other employees, are hired based upon job description and qualifications that the employer, the governing body, has decided are appropriate for that particular job. While those qualifications must comply with any relevant non-discrimination laws, generally, the employer is free to require whatever qualifications that it wishes. Municipal officials, on the other hand, are only required to meet a few basic statutory qualifications that the municipality cannot alter. All municipal officials, whether elected or appointed, must take an oath of office, RSA 6699. They must also be U.S. citizens, RSA 91-2. All elected municipal officials must be domiciled in that municipality, RSA 6696. A municipality with a charter may require up to 1 year residency required before persons run for the elective office, RSA 49C9 and RSA 49D3. And if an elected official moves out of a municipality during his or her term, the official will be deemed to have resigned at the time they move. Lastly, in addition, employees generally work for the employer until one or both of them decide to dissolve the relationship. Municipal officials, on the other hand, serve for the time specified in the relevant statute. For example, select board members serve for 3-year terms, RSA 41-8. After the expiration of their terms, officials may stay on in their positions, but only so long as it takes to elect or appoint and qualify their successors, RSA 4157A. So, because of that, I believe the section that is in our policy on boards, committees, C3 should be moved to the personnel file, because that is for employees or volunteers, which volunteers would fall into the same qualifications as an employee. Thoughts?
I would agree with what you just said, but I would take that one step further in that the request to put forward a background check for the Parks Department, what are we calling them? Board members? We cannot do that, based on what you said, because the RSA 35B outlines what the requirements are for them to serve, and we cannot add anything above and beyond that.
That's my understanding.
Anything else?
Sure. I'm still just catching up a little bit mentally. So I guess it does sound like the policy that, was from what, end of March? That was from 2012. We should update it, this board should update it, but I don't want to lose sight of, so the RSA that it quotes, I think we're agreeing that it quotes it improperly, but that RSA does exist for volunteers. So does the town have any volunteers, just so we don't mess this up again?
Well, employees and volunteers, so volunteers are still deemed as employees.
What I mean is there anybody working for the town right now as a volunteer?
I don't know.
I know we had a volunteer agreement signed for the person that was doing the headstone cleaning.
Yeah,
But he's
but
not-
that's not handling money or
Say, he doesn't meet the criteria, though, of handling money or being around
not quite working
elderly
with the
or
elderly.
children. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, again, just trying to make sure we don't screw this up again. So, I guess, can you just confirm that, Naomi? That we don't
Do we
have
have-
any volunteers that work with children or the elderly
Or collect money.
or collect money? Yeah. And then, I guess, the same other side of that same coin, we've talked about the Chase Park employees, we interviewed a handful today. What other employees handle money that may not, or work with children or the elderly that may not have had a background check? And I think I wanna talk about these Chase Park candidates separately in just a second. I can't, again, I'm trying to do this live.
No, everybody like works at the transfer station, already goes through a background
Yep.
check for that.
Anybody, PD that collects money doesn't have a background check? Fire department?
We don't need background checks, but nobody collects money.
Yeah, okay.
Highway has a background check.
Yeah,
Right.
for the transfer station. Okay, so I think we're good there. And then, so talking about the Chase Park kids, I think, so I'm going by memory of what I read on that RSA, the RSA that the policy quotes. I remember talking about it last week, that our policy says we must do this, the RSA says you can do this. And so I think it's a good idea to get background checks for adults who work with children or the elderly or collect money, but I think we should put an exemption in the policy, either exemption or specify that it's only for adults, but basically exclude anybody under 18 from this requirement. Because otherwise we just did a bunch of interviews, they all went great.
18 or 21?
Yeah, they're
I
not
don't know.
released
Good
till they're
question.
21, we found out from,
Say again?
I think the chief had mentioned that they're sealed till they're 21, so we wouldn't get nothing.
Yeah, I was gonna
Juvenile
say, can I
record.
clarify that their juvenile records are sealed until they're 21, but if they're 18 and had an offense, that would show up on a background check, 18 plus.
Yeah,
So I would say 18 would be the number. You won't get anything that happened when they were a juvenile, but if they did anything since turning 18, that would turn,
I got you, that's where I was lost, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, either one, I mean, I definitely think anybody under 18 for sure ought to be exempt from it. You ain't gonna get anything anyway, and
Yeah. So I don't
here for their first job.
wanna do a knee-jerk, amend this live and screw it up, but we're under the gun for everybody we just interviewed. And I think we were gonna do that today, right?
I'd like to.
So, and then I would make that exemption amendment somehow, and then we talked, Selectman Pratt was talking about amending the park language, right? Do you wanna,
I mean, I think we can do that. I mean, I hate to say any time because that's how things get the way they are, but the two that apparently mistakenly had get them, I think went and got them, so they're here, we can nominate them anyway, and we just won't ask next time.
but we should,
Neither here
we
nor
should
there.
correct it. I mean, you're right, we could do it any time, but we shouldn't let it slip either.
No, I agree, it doesn't pertain to the two that are here tonight.
Yeah, which,
It would've last week, but doesn't tonight, cause they got it, so either way, we don't have to, and they have it both, so.
yeah.
Well, we don't know that, we assume they do, but
Right.
we don't know that.
So,
I think it would be fairly easy to amend the policy right now.
alright,
We would be doing that without any, public input, not a public, no public comment on it.
There actually was a public hearing for this policy on
Mhm.
June 18th of 2012, so making any changes to it.
Right,
should-
but I think one of the
Agreed.
things we talked about early on was that if we were to make any changes, we would
Well-
at least talk about it twice, so that there would be an opportunity for public input.
Don't,
We did get public input last week, and I'm gonna paraphrase very, very broadly, was like, this is stupid. So,
this is probably a bad idea, but I just wanna talk about it. So we know that May 18th is the start date for everybody, right?
yes.
And what's today, the 6th? We have a meeting on the 13th. How much trouble would it cause if we did the hiring on the 13th? Because I remember last year there was paperwork that has to be done before they start.
I already sent the paperwork home with them, that's why I took them out.
Okay. Like, I don't wanna,
There's parents' paperwork, there's school, there's other things that they have to do on their end, that's why I met them outside.
so I guess, is it still, I mean, can they do all that, can they do everything in parallel, and then I'm trying to make both things fit, where we said we wanna do public input on policy changes, but I think we should change the policy.
well, this would be the first time, wouldn't it?
Can we make the motion contingent
Well,
on,
Yeah,
The
I was
review
gonna say,
of
we can
policy.
also change it, and then next week, if there are other public inputs, that says we didn't get it right, or that they wanted other things changed, we could certainly talk about
Change
it
it
a
again.
second time. Now, that's not very efficient, but it is possible for us to do.
Yeah,
Would you entertain a question, just to help you in your policy?
Quick one, please,
Um,
and you'll have to come to the mic so people can hear you.
As you're making whatever motion that you're making, Denise Purington, so could you just clarify, because there is, one of us had a background check state, one of us had a state and federal. One required fingerprints, one did not. One, you get the results right away, one, the results never come back to you. So I'm just saying, as you do this, you might want to be, just to clarify which of those two you're asking for, so you don't get more feedback from it.
yeah.
Thank you.
And again, by memory, I think the RSA said we can choose.
Yeah, so Denise, though, I think is asking that if we put something in the
No,
policy.
it's a great point. I just-
Our town policy.
Yeah, I
says
don't
we
think
should-
our hands are tied. I think we are allowed
Yeah.
to choose.
Yeah.
yeah, we can choose. The town may request only a state records check, or both the federal and state.
Right now, they only require state for employees, so I don't think we'd make it anymore for,
Okay, so the downside to making an amendment for the under 18 exclusion today, right now, is that we don't get public input, but people will know we've made that change, and they could say something next week. So yeah, I think think that's the best we can do.
We've kinda made all, worked on a lot of policies without really a public hearing or input on it.
Yeah,
Maybe
it
that
wouldn't
wasn't
be a
the right
public
way.
hearing.
But then we got feedback on that.
Yeah, it wouldn't, we don't have to have a public hearing, but I think we committed to having public input. And like I said, we did get public input, not though the ability for people to come and say it in front of us. We did get some emails.
So it sounds like there are two things: to, one, remove the background check from the committee policy, and then to make sure that it is in the employee, personnel,
We're over 18.
yeah, for 18 and over.
I think
That's
that's
what I
fair.
believe I heard. Is that what you have?
Yes. And on the background, are you asking for state only, or are you, when you're asking for a background check on employees, are you asking for state and federal?
That's what we were just discussing.
Haven't got there yet.
I think currently it's just state, we've only ever done state when we hired somebody, so I don't know what we do.
Yeah, I agree. State only.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have the policy, I guess I do have the employee handbook,
We do have it.
but, yeah, so I would propose an amendment, but I don't have it in front of me to do it correctly. But I'm ready to just keep it moving.
Or just remove that language from that policy.
Yeah, what does it say exactly in the personnel policy? Really, that's all any of it is.
Yeah. There's nothing in the personnel policy about it.
There isn't, yeah. I can't remember, I should know, worked here long enough, I never was in this spot.
It goes in binding. Volunteers.
The personnel manual's in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what you have? Okay,
So I'm saying there should be a definition of volunteer,
okay.
in addition of that expectation. Because that's not in here at all. I did look through it.
So striking the section, number 3, that talks about the background check in our policy, right, on boards and committees.
Section 3C.
Item number 3, C3.
Yeah, C3, right? That one's pretty straightforward. Just to strike that one section.
Yeah. You make a motion?
I will make a motion, right, that we amend our policy on the boards, committees, and commissions to remove section C3 that regards to the employees and volunteers' background checks.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
I believe I heard 5. Any noes? Any abstain? That passes 5-0-0. And I guess we need to make a motion to amend the personnel policy. We have a revision going forward already because of the fire integration, the fire department policy integration. Are we okay taking an action, or do we want to make a motion?
Almost like that one needs a little bit of extra consideration.
Yeah.
Well, I think because we have an RSA to back us up, What's the benefit of rushing through that?
The RSA states that we can ask for that, it doesn't have to be in policy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we wanted to
To clarify which one.
clarify less than 18
Understood.
and state versus state or federal, or state versus state and federal. So, anyone wanna take a stab at drafting that up for us for next week?
Just adding it to the personnel policy?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
And I guess just to say it out loud, but the intention is, from right now, if we were to hire somebody, well, we're about to hire a bunch of people. The intention is no background checks for under 18, but background checks, state level background checks for, is it any employees? Should we exclude anybody, really? I know it
don't know which
says
ones would be.
money.
There was never any in our field that was excluded out of
Yeah,
it.
like who knows who's gonna run into children or the elderly?
Because I had part-time, full-time drivers that I had to do background checks for, part-timers at the transfer station.
I guess
That
if
were
we're
over
doing
eight-
it next
we're
week,
over
if
18, but
we're doing it next week,
I
it's
just
something
wanna
to
move
think
it
about.
along, make sure we get these, if we can do something, make sure we get these kids moved along that we interviewed tonight so that they can move forward with their,
But we can make that motion on its own by
Mm-hmm.
just saying they don't require unless they're 18 or older.
So I'm hearing that we're all okay with what we're gonna do tonight, and we're okay with bringing a draft that's gonna go into the upcoming personnel policy that covers less than 18, the employees getting state level background checks.
I guess the question is, where is that right now?
What do you mean?
Well, in our,
Yeah, I don't, I'm just reading the table of
It's not in,
contents.
there's
It's
nothing
not in there.
not in there at
Yeah.
all. So, it's something we've been doing and doing background checks, it's just not in the handbook.
Right.
Minimum of state, because we do fed.
Okay.
Is it worth, because that does leave it open to interpretation, which, like, we may run into the same problem they're describing. Can we make it a little more specific, like, state unless requested by the department head, something like?
Yeah, that would work. It's mandated for us, we're under RSA.
So
Unless
a state level
otherwise-
background check unless otherwise specified by RSA or as requested by department head.
We're required to submit fingerprints, yeah.
You said we are or are?
Police
Okay,
department.
yeah.
Okay.
Would you entertain any brief public comment on this issue for the moment?
If it's brief, we're at 8:20, that's why I said brief, not because I don't want your input.
How about
Please
30
come up,
seconds?
please
30
come up.
seconds? Greg Smith, Reservoir Drive. My comment would simply be that I understand the logic presented by Selectman Pratt, that RSAs appear to limit your ability to impose this policy on appointees and elected officials, so it makes sense to me, at least. It seems logical to do as you did, remove it from that policy. Also, as I believe Selectman Salim Bloom has pointed out, the RSA providing the authority to do this is optional. Therefore, it would seem to me you have ample time to decide when or whether to implement this policy with other employees. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Okay. All right, anything else on this? Okay, so are we ready to move on to the park appointments?
yeah.
Okay, thank you for your patience.
Can I ask a question before you go to my appointment? Okay, so Denise Purington, as you were talking about, last week we talked about the terms, and you read your statement. I did go back, and Salem, you might be able to help, but I pulled the minutes from both the Board of Selectmen meeting and the Parks and Rec Commission meeting when we talked about it. And it was in conjunction with the two new appointees because there was confusion as to how many positions and what those terms were. And so we had agreed that they would be one-year terms until we wrote the bylaws. We did not agree broadly for all the terms because we have two, Dave and I were clearly 2024, and it keeps that 3-year RSA and it all in order. We have another member who expires in 2025. So the current members were all on the correct cycle. It was the two new appointees who, because we weren't sure, was one a one-year term and an alternate, was one a 3-year term because we'd lost track of a person who had stepped off the board. We agreed to make those one-year terms while we got the bylaws written and decided if we were gonna increase the number of members. So before you make the appointment tonight, and if you choose to make us 1 year, so be it, but that's makes the task a little more difficult because we already have a rotation going. It was the two new members, and if we were to add a third or fourth, then we have to decide who goes to 2025, who goes to 2026, who goes to 2027. So I would just ask on behalf of Dave and I, if we stick with our terms, it keeps everything in order.
So what I remember at least, and, you know, who knows what that's worth. What I remember was, we don't know how many members there actually are. So the bylaws are gonna help sort that out. And so we don't know how many seats there are, so you can't say, oh, well, these two are good for this year, because you don't even know, should it be fewer than that or more than that?
Well,
So-
I think we know from historically what we've had, and I mean, I think it's pretty clear, you can go back and look at the minutes. You know, it was Dave and I, Pam, Janine were all members of the board. Janine stepped off, she was a 3-year member. The question was really, are we gonna up that to 7? Whatever that was. So when I looked at the minutes, it specifically said the 2 new members going forward. It didn't say the whole commission. And if that's what you want, we'll respect that, but it was really saying, you have to.
Because I also remember a conversation where you had said that you and Dave could be the one-year appointments, and it may have been in alternative to them, but I remember that statement. I guess it's not in the minutes, but we can look at the video. But I still believe that because we don't know the exact number, we can't start pinning down. And the other thing that I remember talking about that I think is the escape hatch for all this is we can change it in a month or 2 months or whenever. Whenever the bylaws are done and you say, hey, this is how we'd like to sort it out, then we can turn around and do reappointments.
And I absolutely agree with you.
And I
But
think
the-
that was our intention.
But then you have, all of a sudden, now you have a pool of people, well, who's going in 2025, who's going in 2026, who's going in 2027? I think we looked at it from the perspective that the positions who are already there on 3-year terms versus the 2 new people, and even if you look at the board, it talked about the 2 candidates. So, and maybe we're on different pages, and for the sake of time, I just wanted to put my concerns forward that as we look at the bylaws, it becomes a lot easier to say, we're gonna be a 7-member board, everybody has a 3-year term, now we have to figure out the new members, what their rotation is, but the existing members already have slots, and we have had slots for a number of years. So, I just wanted to put forward I think the minutes reflected something, in my recollection, reflected something, and I think Dave's did too, that we thought we were coming here tonight to be appointed to 3-year terms. But you're the board, you do what you think you need to do. I just wanted to clarify that I felt the minutes reflected something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched some of the YouTubes, the last, I think March.
One
and
was
there
March 8th. our meeting, the board meeting was March 4th, and our meeting was, I believe, March 8th, yeah.
I watched the selection, to the portion where you were talking about your appointments, and you're right, you
Yeah.
only talked about the two new candidates, but in the park meeting, there was a brief comment about one-year spots for everyone, but it wasn't discussed. There was one point where you did mention you may go to a two-year just to make things work out, but
Yeah.
that's all I saw of any.
So you can do what you want. I just
Conversation
wanted
about
to
it.
be on record to say I don't think, but, you know, time's of an issue, but anyways. Yeah, and I did, while I'm here publicly, I just, Jason sitting back here in the back corner, Chase Park sustained a lot of winter damage, and last week, Jason and his crew went up there and did an amazing job in one day because the water was coming up. I just want to publicly thank Jason and his team in front of the board. I know they got some staffing issues and they don't always get positive feedback, but we are grateful for the work that they did, and I wanted that to be on public record for them.
Thank you.
You know, it looks good from the road, to drive by it every day.
James, since you're the Park and Rec person, I know, you weren't on the park then as
Right.
an ex officio. But I'm assuming you probably watched the March 8th, March 4th, or is that a bad assumption?
It's not a great assumption, but,
Okay.
uh,
All right, well, I was
I-
gonna say, if you've watched it, you know, you're now the ex officio, what
Right.
did you think?
I think as we've seen in some other things, some other places, that original intent is often up to interpretation based on what people recollect. And so rather than look at what was happening in the past, I think I'd like to see what we're going to do right now. I don't see any harm in having them on for 3 years, you know, versus the 1 year regarding whether the bylaws are in place or what we think the rotation might be. I'd be just as happy to have them on for 3 years, you know, right now, and then we'll deal with other ones as they come up. Any new ones we can put on for 1 year at that point.
Salem,
Give me a second to do some math.
David?
I see no harm with a 3-year appointment.
Lindy?
No, I just keep the 3-year, that way when they do figure out how many they want and how many they have, that, she said the rotation won't all start from ground zero. So I think, you know, if everybody's 1 year, then if next year it gets all written and everybody's 3-year, we still gotta try to stagger them, so.
So what do we have right now? We have 2 1-years and a what? And
I believe one person, expiring next year, and then these would be 3 years. I believe that's the way it's currently written.
So while Salem is doing his math over there, I want to say, so I had a conversation with Denise last week where I apologized for the issue with the background checks and everything. But I did not have that opportunity to talk to David about that. And so I would like to say my apologies as your ex officio for not having that up front before coming here last week. Like I said, we did put it on the website, but we did not mail it out to anybody. And so I did not bring it up to your attention, and so I apologize for that.
so that would mean we would move to, so next year, there would be 3 people. And we'd have, shoot, I did this wrong. We'd have 2 people with 2 years left. And then we would have 3 people floating. And so I guess we would need to decide at that point how many go into I guess it would probably be two of those 3 people into 3-year slots, and one of those people into a 1-year slot. And that would make a rotation of, so starting next year, there would be 2 people with 2 years remaining, 2 people we would re-up for 3 years, and 1 person we would re-up for 1 year, if it remained at 5 people.
Yeah, but we
But that's,
think they're going to increase the number based on the conversation, but they haven't done that
and
yet.
if that were the case, then that could bump to, yeah, it's kinda weird. And I guess is that well, you're all, I mean, you all figure it out. If it's 7, like with ex officio, that could be a 2-2-2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would not throw this off.
Like I said, we can always revisit it.
Absolutely, which is what I thought we were gonna do anyway, so that's no change. Yeah. Okay.
I'm just, yeah, I'm trying to shift gears from, oh, we're doing 1 years, so we'll figure it out later this summer, to like, okay, I'm trying to make a more permanent decision in the
Right.
moment.
So I'll accept a motion to reappoint Ms. Denise Purington to a 3-year term on the Parks and Rec appointment, with her appointment expiring April 1, 2027. Anyone like to move that?
I'll move that.
Would anyone like to second?
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor say yes?
Yes.
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 Yes. 5-0-0. Okay. I'll accept a motion to reappoint Mr. David Lundin to a 3-year term on Park Commission. His appointment will expire on April 1, 2027. Would anyone like to move that?
Moved.
Would anyone like to second?
Second?
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say yes? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
You applying? Yeah.
I heard 5. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Okay. Selectman Knapp, would you please administer the oaths of office to the Park Commission? And while he's getting that set up, I really appreciate your patience and allowing us to work through all this. Thank you.
I state your names.
I, David Levine,
Do solemnly swear and affirm
solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully and impartially
faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent on me as Parks and Rec Commission. All duties incumbent on me as Parks. Yep. According to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my ability,
agreeably to the rules and regulations
agreeably to the rules and regulations
of this Constitution
of this Constitution
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
and laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help me God. So help me God.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You guys?
Thank you.
Sign. Denise?
Mr. Phillips,
Yes.
thank you for your patience. How are you this evening, other than have a sore butt?
Feel better.
Sitting there. Thanks for coming.
Yep.
You feeling better?
Yes,
Awesome, good. So you're looking to be reappointed to the Conservation Commission, correct?
correct.
Okay. How long have you been on the Conservation
3
Commission?
years.
3?
Yep.
So you should be your 2nd term?
Correct.
And what do you like serving about on the Conservation Commission?
I'd like to stay on top of our open space and let's make sure that it's protected for recreation and use of the town.
You mentioned open space. There's a subcommittee, I believe it's called Where Open Space, in the Conservation Commission. Are you on that subcommittee?
Didn't know that we had any subcommittees in the Conservation Commission.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it in your bylaws.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any business interests or personal conflicts that might impact your ability to
No.
represent the best interests of the town?
Nope.
Have you read the New Hampshire Municipal Conservation Commission Handbook?
I've not read it, but I perused it and use it as a reference guide. It's pretty dry reading.
Yes, it is. I can attest to that. I've looked at it about 1.5 times now myself. Have you completed any training that's available through the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commission?
I have in the first year.
You did?
I attended 2 lunchtime seminars that they had.
What other questions does the board have for Mr. Phillips?
None here.
No? Okay. Do you have any questions for us?
Nope.
Okay. I'll accept a motion to reappoint Mr. Mark Phillips to a 3-year term on the Conservation Commission with his appointment expiring April 1, 2027. Would anyone like to move that?
So moved.
Thank you. And anyone second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay. Hearing none, everyone in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Anyone abstain? 5-0-0, that passes. Thank you, Mr. Phillips, for volunteering. Mr. Knapp, would you like to, Selectman Knapp, excuse me. Apologize.
I state your name. I, Mark Phillips. Do solemnly swear and affirm. Do solemnly swear and affirm. I will faithfully and impartially. I will faithfully and impartially. Discharge and perform. Discharge and perform. All the duties incumbent on me as Conservation Commission. All the duties incumbent upon me as Conservation Commission. According to the best of my abilities. According to the best of my abilities. Agreeably to the rules and regulations. Agreeably to the rules and regulations. Of this Constitution. Of this Constitution. And the laws of the state of New Hampshire. And the laws of the state of New Hampshire. So help me God. So help me God. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Yes, have a good evening. Okay, traffic. Chief Moore?
I only print one of these, but you can pass out and look at it. So, today I found a PowerPoint completed by the Department of Highway Safety, Bureau of Traffic, on how state speed zones are set. Some of the information contained in that packet, I'll just summarize. RSA 26560 establishes the basic rule of setting speed limits. They should be reasonable and prudent. Rural residential districts, also known as town roads, are 35 miles an hour by default. Individual drivers control their speed according to perceived and actual road conditions. Most operators on any stretch of road, and they look at 85% as the standard, should be reasonable and prudent speeds based on the traffic conditions. Traffic crash data is an indicator if drivers are traveling at a reasonable and prudent speed. That's just one of multiple factors where they actually have the money to complete studies. We don't do that. But we've had 2 crashes on Flanders Memorial in the past 5 years, which were attributed to speed. One of those was a DUI-related crash also. When a speed limit within a speed zone is posted, it should be within 5 miles an hour of the 85th percentile speed of free-flowing vehicles. We recorded, when we looked at Flanders Memorial, 9,027 vehicle speeds. 8,440 of those were within 10 miles per hour of the posted speed limit, either above or below. We didn't break it down by the 5 miles as in the study because I didn't come up with that until today. That number represented 93.5% of the data collected. We were able to identify a few patterns of repeat violators. The highest was 72 miles per hour. We were targeting those, and that's in a 35 mile per hour zone. We are targeting those patterns and have already stopped and cited 1 driver for 62 and a 35. Unreasonably low speeds are not respected by drivers, law enforcement, or the courts. They take that into consideration when considering lower speeds. Lower speed limits do not result in lower speeds. They did 6 case studies and looked at that. If they lowered the speed, did it actually decrease the drivers? The drivers continued to travel based on the road conditions present.
And if I'm not mistaken, those were more highway-ish than
Yes.
Flanders.
Yeah,
correct?
mostly northern, open road territory, nothing like Flanders, but just general.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they actually set up their data, that wasn't in the packet. That was just a conclusion of what they looked at when they did the 6 case studies. Anybody have any questions of me?
Just looking at the data that you did send, and just pure speeding, not, in 1 mile over was, I lumped that into speeding. It looked like, we had 76, 81, and 51% of the folks that you clocked were speeding. Is that,
No.
no?
We look at more as, are we gonna enforce?
No, I mean, just from
Yeah.
1 mile over is speeding. Just the data that
Yeah.
you reported. Is that what it is?
I'm not gonna comment on that,
But
because
that's-
we're not gonna take enforcement action on 1 mile an hour over.
No, I'm just saying, though,
Right.
people were going above the posted speed limit of 35.
So it's not a calibrated system,
Okay,
so I wouldn't go off of that.
okay.
I would go more generalized, rather than breaking it down to 1 mile per hour as being a speeding vehicle. This unit, when we looked at it, also recorded multiple targets, and when we looked at the time data, we could tell that was the same vehicle. So while we have 9,000, I think I said 9,027 readings, we didn't have that many cars.
Yeah,
Some,
that's a lot
we
of-
were seeing 5 and 6 readings for 1 car on some occasions. So it's just raw data, rather than broken down. We can still get generalized percentages of what was going on, taking a snapshot, but breaking it down into specifics, I wouldn't go that far.
You saying it took different speeds of the same car at the same time, or are you saying there was that many vehicles that passed, it might have been the same vehicle each day? or
Nope, so like if they're traveling, on Flanders, and it doesn't matter which direction, the speed sign's here, speed sign's gonna start flashing.
Yep.
Which is gonna alert the driver. Now, the driver might not have been paying attention to their speed, so we're gonna track that vehicle here at, let's just say, 47, 46, 45, 44,
That's what I wanted to
43. And we're
understand.
getting those 5 readings from that one vehicle.
Gotcha.
Because we can see that was taken, at 10:16, 27 seconds, 10:16, 29 seconds,
Yep.
make sense?
Yep,
And we were seeing quite a few patterns of that.
So your record's probably multiple 3, so we probably.
Multiple,
cut
right.
that.
We can still get a picture, but as far as breaking down specifically, we're talking generalizations.
So it's probably 3,000, 4,000 cars.
Low, it's definitely gonna be lower than 9,027. But yeah,
Not a picture.
now what?
Not a picture, not a photograph.
No, we don't get photos.
You can get an understanding.
Correct.
So we happened to have dinner with a couple last week, and the husband actually works for DOT, doing traffic. And so I was picking his brain, and he didn't seem to get upset, about this topic. And he cautioned, again, this is just a dinner conversation, it was not an official, like, hey, come inform the board. But it's basically everything that you're saying was what he cautioned. If you do a traffic study and it finds that 85% of the people go 50 miles an hour, then your speed limit has to be right about there.
Within what they want is yeah, exactly, you're on point.
So it's not always best to actually do a study, because the speed limit doesn't actually slow people down, and that was in this PowerPoint here.
Correct, exactly. Yeah, if, just like he was saying, if your average is 50 miles an hour, your speed limit would want to be between 55 and 45. They typically use the median of what they saw. You're absolutely correct,
So
what I read.
it
so
was,
if you had an official, so I understand, so you had an official study, and that was
and
made.
put it on the public
That was
record.
made public.
Yeah,
And we posted 30, and it was supposed to be 50, they'd hold that up in court.
correct.
Say that
they-
one more time.
So I wrap my head around the conversation. So if we had an official study, let's say, whatever that is.
And cost.
Right, but I'm just saying, and it came back that the average is 50 mile an hour, like you said. And that went on public record, but we decided to post at 30 anyway, somehow the person who got pulled over doing 50 and a 30 knew that it was public, they could take that and beat that in court?
No,
No.
no. Like it said, you should, it's scientific on what you should base your speed limits are. What you make your speed limits, we're gonna enforce. I
So
mean,
at the end of the
Right,
day,
but-
we can still,
you can make it what you
in the
want.
right ways, make it what we want.
Correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted to do.
Yes,
But if the speed limit, because the speed limit, it says, like in that handout, the speed limit has to be within 10% of study, right? It was on the,
it doesn't have to be. You guys have the authority to make it what you want it to be, but it should be where drivers are driving natural anyway. If they're driving beyond what's, and the key words were reasonable and prudent. You know, most drivers are gonna drive according to road conditions, you know, if it's icy, if it's wet, if it's dry, if you're around corners, you know, what have you. If you're in that 85th percentile of where most people are driving, it's fine. That's where you wanna be. You know, these outliers who are doing, you know, 72 miles an hour and the guy we got doing 62, those are way above, they need to get tickets.
But setting a town-level road is different than a lot of the roads that the state sets their speed limit on, as far as what the road looks like and where it's located, and, you know, the population density and those sorts of things.
Correct, and
On-
in that
On a lot
packet-
of those roads.
Yeah, they did like, it was 5 or 6 different tests to determine what the speed limit was supposed to be on state roads. We don't have those resources. I can look at accident data, and I can post our mobile radar signs to get us a general idea of, you know, what's going on. You know, and we could see on that, most of them are around the 35 mile an hour zone anyway. Some are below, some are above, and then you have the outliers that are way above that we're after. And we can use that data to kind of put ourselves out there in those positions when they're really coming through. And that includes when we're not on duty, where I'm gonna make that public record too. We're looking at adjusting some stuff, so we're out there at 4 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock, and that's fair, because our most prominent speeders are early morning when we're not on duty, and nobody's out there. 50% of the prominent speeders were during that time frame,
Wow.
4 and 5 a.m.
I'm working on something similar at my work, and the PD said the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
On the way to work in the morning.
Yep.
Okay, so I think when we talked about this last, we said in order to actually proceed with changing it, we would need to have a public hearing. Is that what I recall?
I believe you do.
Okay. We also talked about what were some of the other roads, the speed limit on some of the other roads that were around that area.
So all around them is 30,
It
and
is 30.
a lot of them are. You know, what the process was that lowered those, I don't know either. Like I said, state law by default, they're 35. The town can make them what they want to make them. I can look at any roads independently. We are in the process of getting an interactive map of all our roads and all the speed zones completed for free. So it'll be attached to our website. I don't know how long that process is, but it's a volunteer who
Wow.
works for GIS, so.
Very nice. So I think this is probably more for Jason. If we were to change the signs, how many need to be changed? If we went through and everything finished and said, yes, move it to 30, how many signs would need to be changed?
I have that list, I can get
Oh,
you
you
that
do?
number. I don't have it with me, but I do have it.
I got a quick question. Paul Gannon, 192 Flanders Memorial Road. So are we no longer talking about the speed limit on Flanders? Are we talking about the town as a whole?
No, we're talking about Flanders.
Okay, because what was saying about townwide stuff and similar things that Benji was facing and where he is, I thought we had morphed into townwide as opposed to just Flanders. Okay,
No,
thank you.
thank you for clarifying.
I think we are gonna discuss both.
We're gonna discuss both, but right now we're just talking about Flanders.
At least 2 on Flanders, if that's,
Okay. Two?
By Dave's and then down by Hodgson Road, by the triangle.
And while you're up there, do you know if we were to put a townwide in there, how many signs that would be, roughly?
Well, if you're gonna post at town lines and state roads, we use approximately 55, weight limit posted signs. So if you're gonna use that principle, about 55.
Okay. Thank you.
That's just.
Sorry.
That's just town maintained roads. That doesn't include, class 6 private roads as well.
And you would need those on Class 6 private roads. We don't enforce that.
Thank you. Any other questions for Chief Moore?
I don't know, I mean, that was a lot of good information,
So what was enforceable out of the data you collected? Do you have a percentage? I know the numbers are,
So technically, 1 mile an hour over is enforceable. Are we gonna stop cars for going 1 mile an hour? No, we're not. I'm not gonna tell you what we do stop for. No hints, no hints. But we'll go with that. The guys who were in that, what'd I say? So there were, the way outliers were 6.5% of this. Those guys are getting tickets. They're not just getting stopped, they're getting stopped and getting tickets. We'll put it that way. And that's percentage, so we don't know how many vehicles that was, because it was, because of all the double, triple,
Right.
quadruple readings we were getting.
but those are the 51 plus.
Well, I don't wanna put the number on it
Well,
and tell
that's,
people.
no,
whether-
no, that's what
said
you
got
have
the
as a
tickets.
grouping.
Yeah, if
If you had a
you're-
51 plus,
if
you're
you're-
more than likely getting pulled over.
if you're not in that 85 percentile where you're driving in a reasonable and prudent manner, you
Yep.
should be worried about getting stopped. How's that?
Sounds fair. Okay. Anything else for Chief Moore? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't go away.
Nope.
Okay. So do we want to proceed with the public hearing to change the speed limit on Flanders from 35 down to 30 or 25?
well, I think that's where,
It's a question, not a,
don't
it's
think-
an entire question on a public hearing. It's not a question
Can't go to 25.
of, not
can you?
specific asking about 25 or 30.
can't go below
I
25.
don't think you can.
We can't go below 25, was my understanding.
It's 35 now, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's where and, yeah, I mean, it's easy enough, I guess, just to have one and change a couple signs. I don't personally have a problem lowering it to 30. Coming down by Mr. Cannon's tonight, my bottle of water rolled off the seat on the floor and I was doing 24 down around his, so I don't know how the hell people's doing 60, but that's neither here nor there. But to kinda go back on what he asked us, that we did kinda say, are we gonna just do a town-wide one? But do we wanna wait that long? I think that might be,
Well, that won't
That'll take
change
some time.
Flanders, because Flanders is posted at 35. So even if we enact a townwide, the townwide is unless otherwise posted. And Flanders is posted at 35.
right, but if we we're talking about lowering it. I
Yeah.
thought we talked about the whole town-wide might be 30 if we did it. But if we wanna have a public hearing on that, or just have one on Flanders and come back for the townwide.
We could do them both at the same time.
And I think you ought to hear, I don't know, Chief has any more input on a townwide? We didn't hear his
Well,
opinion on it.
let's
We didn't
finish
hear.
up Flanders before we go to townwide.
Well, because for me, it rolls in to if we're gonna do a townwide or not. Don't have two public hearings about the exact same thing. We just,
They're not the same.
If I may.
they are.
So, a public hearing here's the issue. I came here because of Flanders Memorial Road.
Right.
Because of the speed of that 2-mile stretch from the triangle at Hodgson Road to the intersection of 114. If you want to do a public hearing on the whole town, how many people on other roads would be like, no, I want it to stay at, I don't want it 30 miles an hour. I'm specifically talking this road, and I'm asking for you to make a decision about Flanders Memorial Road, not the whole town. You start having a public hearing that's going to address the entire town, that outcome could be very different. Meaning, you're going to have people who really don't give a rat's ass about Flanders Memorial, but they're more concerned about their road, and they're happy at 35, or they don't want to reduce it. So you get a town hearing, no, we don't need to reduce it, then we're still stuck, I'm assuming, at Flanders at 35. So the issue is, reduce the speed at Flanders first, and then if we want to address the town later, let's do that. That's fine. And what the chief said is, speed limits that are prudent and reasonable, and I think that really depends, I'll go back to Flanders specifically, what the road looks like. So prudent and reasonable on 114 is wholly different than prudent and reasonable on Flanders Memorial Road. I think 35 miles an hour is the maximum speed that is safe on a lot of parts of that road. So, and if, as the chief said, speed limits don't matter because people don't pay attention to them, then I guess we're looking at more enforcement on Flanders Memorial as a solution, right? Because then that reasonably is the only solution to anyone speeding or keeping the speed reasonable. So, either more enforcement, drop the speed limit, I don't know. But I would like the selectmen to please address Flanders Memorial first before bringing in the rest of the town. So, I don't know if anyone else has anything. Thank you.
So, I was kind of waiting for this one, the more enforcement topic. So, in the town report, the one that's projected, I think it's back from 2005 or something, it cites studies where the police department's supposed to have 2 officers per 1,000. We should be a department of 18 to 20. You want me to enforce secondary roads, like what it would take, especially if the speed limit was lowered? No problem with a department that size. We have 12. Not complaining, we can get the job done, but what that means is we have to make sure our time is diverse amongst the entire population. We keep track of citizen complaints. We try to get it out by there on a daily basis. Does that mean we're going to go and sit? No, we don't have the time. We are very paperwork intensive. I have 10 computers, 4 of them went down this year, probably from overuse. But I looked at how many pieces of paper we produce annually. 44,000 pieces of paper came through our printer last year. That's pretty significant, and that's because every report, every citizen contact has to be documented, which takes reports, which takes, everything that goes in with our job. We also try to be responsive to citizens, but there's a limit to that on how much we can. DUI is our number 1 priority. Speeding and reckless drivers are our number 2 priority. We keep track of about 8 to 10 complaints that we put out on a monthly basis, along with what actions we do get enforcement-wise based on citizen complaints. Because we need those, because citizens are our eyes to let us know what's going on in the community, so we can go through those areas. But one of my kind of standing orders is, we have, we have several hundred, I don't recall what it is off the top of my head, 300 and something miles of roadway in Ware. If you were doing 60 miles an hour, it would take you constantly 6 hours to get and most of the speed limits are 30 and 35. So it's going to take you over an hour just to drive by everybody's house, not having any call for service or any other, mandated items that we have to do. So even if the speed limit's lower, is lowered, it's not going to mean more enforcement. It's going to be the same level of enforcement. It's just going to be more complaints. So is it going to make it safer? Again, that's why we use the accident data. 2 accidents over the last 5 years. So that's what we really look at. Make sense? Anybody got any questions on that part? Thank you.
If I may, I appreciate the chief, his position, and I understand about being pushed thin. But I still remember going down River Road in 2006, 2 years after I moved here, and I got pulled over because I was going too darn fast. To this day, I watch my speed on that section of River Road. It's what we used to call in the military presence patrols. You don't have enough manpower to meet all your objectives, but every so often, you kick soldiers out to move around part of an area so that the potential bad guys see you there and they know you're there, but they don't know when you're there. So you don't have to be there all the time, but every now and then, they see you sitting there and they don't do anything. So it's not that we have to be everywhere all the time, but a few strategic placements of people, someone who keeps driving and says, last time I was there, I got pulled over, I better slow down. Heck, even on 114, one of his officers grabbed me a few weeks to a month ago. Yeah, I was going, I'm, you know, going to pick up kids and I'm not paying attention and I was doing 12 to 15 over and he said, knucklehead, slow down. So it happens, I understand that, but trust me, getting pulled over, seeing them, one time you're like, all right, I gotta watch it. It's, you know, force of habit, so to speak. You learn to be careful or watch what you're doing. So I understand, you know, being stretched thin, and I'm not asking for, or nor would I expect tons of people on the road, but an occasional car that someone sees and that will keep in the back of their head, you know, don't speed or someone's gonna be sitting there, so.
And that's on the money, that's, what he described is our high intense patrol list, that's listed on our monthly, those 8 to 10 locations where we show an enhanced presence.
Okay, thank you both. Okay, Benji, does that,
Yeah, I mean, we can do whatever, it's like, everything we do here, we'll have 7, 8 hearings and meetings, I guess, but in Mr. Gannon's defense, he did come here specifically for that. I just thought we could capture the whole thing more easily, but I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem lowering it to 30. I do think, I hate split speed limits on roads, so I'm not gonna even suggest that. I do think there's a far bigger difference going from Holly Hill to Hodgson Road than going from Holly Hill to 114 for safety, but I don't wanna get into having separate speed limits. I'm not suggesting that. I just, down by his house certainly is, you know, 30 would be fast enough. Do I think it'll fix it? I don't. I've always been skeptical about lowering them if it was gonna fix anything. I guess it would raise the potential ticket amount if they were doing 10 over versus 15 over or whatever, but, I don't know.
good point. Any other discussion before we talk about a motion? So I'll accept a motion to proceed and schedule a public hearing to change the speed limit on Flanders Memorial from 35 to 30. Would anyone like to move that?
I'll move that.
Would anyone like to second that?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Okay. So we will schedule a public hearing on Flanders, speed limit from 35 to 30. I think we have to give like 2 weeks' notice, so you're probably looking at close to June before we get to that. I know you've been waiting a while, so just... It's true, one step closer. Okay. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Wheels of government grind slowly.
They do, but they grind. All right, so I think I heard that we want to kind of table the discussion on our town-wide for a little bit,
I
It
don't
would
care.
have to be June 3rd,
June 3rd.
because you got Memorial Day the 27th, so.
I don't know as a default budget, Jason's budget could handle it anyway.
Yeah, 50-some signs is a lot of signs.
$6,875
Wow.
For signs and posts.
possible.
That replacing all the ones that say 35 or just
No, just
Town
adding,
Town lines and
just the town?
state roads.
that would just be adding, speed limit's 30 unless otherwise
Oh.
posted.
Yeah, yeah, signs and posts.
That's town lines, state roads. Some roads aren't gonna be posted 30, so that number could possibly
What'd you
go
say it
down.
was, 6,000?
6875.
Just
That's for
rough
55
numbers.
signs and 55 T-posts?
That
I'm,
includes post.
I'm guessing around $100 a sign.
Sure, yeah.
I looked at the agenda today before I came, and it was a little late to call anybody in Henniker or Deering, 'cause I know they have those, but,
Because it's a little more than just a speed limit.
exactly.
It says per order,
Yeah.
townwide per order selectmen or something.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, it could be cheaper than 100, they could be a little bit more expensive, but I'm thinking they're right around there. But yeah, like,
7K's in the ballpark.
yeah, like I said, River Road's not gonna be posted 30, so you're not gonna have one at the state road there. So there's a couple spots where you can lose one or two of those, but,
However,
in general,
I guess posted signs are the same. I was gonna say, however, you gotta post everything off river, but you do post it anyways. We don't post river roads.
How many signs exist in town that are already 30 miles an hour? That you just take?
I have no idea,
Yeah, it's kind of somewhat rhetorical.
yeah.
I wouldn't-
I mean, you wouldn't leave those up there anyway, I wouldn't think.
Right.
You know? I mean, if you're gonna post a townwide speed limit, I think you have to have those signs that say,
Yeah.
per Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer or anything, but
Then we could sell the signs that we don't need anymore.
sure, we'll bring
Those
them
are
down,
the general fund.
yeah, we'll bring them down on the
College
white
kids
farm.
who need those in their dorm room.
Yeah.
They work good for fixing the floor, rusty trucks.
Got a couple of those.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't know. It's something I've always been interested in. I think it would take this, I know that, there's been times that a signs get run over by a car or a plow truck or whatever, and someone reports it, go put up a sign. We didn't really know it was there. We have ones in the shed, I don't know that half of them have been voted on what they are, so.
Yeah.
I think it would fix everything by doing that. I don't think you'd get a whole lot of flack from the public really, but
I don't think so. I mean, there's,
I just thought it would be easy, but if you're on a default budget, that was one thing I did say in the very beginning, was wouldn't wanna make a vote and expect you to fund it without having you find the money, so.
yeah,
Yeah, well, we were talking about 7K roughly for signs. I mean, it could be a little more than that. And we haven't even talked about the labor cost. There's an opportunity if they're not doing something else.
Yeah, that could be argued about anything, but yes.
yeah. I mean, again, there's a cost to that, but you're already paying guys that's their job, so.
No, but if they're doing that, they're not doing something else that's on their already deep list.
Yeah, Henniker, not off subject, but Henniker does 25 miles an hour on their dirt roads. I was driving around this morning, I saw that, so. Another one for the,
I would selfishly be in favor of that.
That was brought up to me once too.
yeah.
And that throws the whole thing out the window though.
It says right on their signs,
Oh, it does.
all dirt roads in Henniker, 25, unless otherwise posted, per order of Board of Selectmen.
Oh.
And then their tar roads have, 30, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they're all on the same sign? Both of those 30 and
No,
25?
no,
No?
the
Okay.
dirt roads are posted.
So
You
that'd
have
be
to
even
post
more
each end of the
signs.
dirt road.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
That
Doesn't
would-
sound like something you're gonna have money for this year anyway.
That would increase your 55 quite a bit.
Yeah, double,
Yeah, yeah,
2 signs per road.
yeah, yeah. 27, 22 dirt roads,
So
27 dirt roads?
Just about double, 50
Yeah.
of them, times 2.
Yeah.
Oh, no, 50 of them, yeah. I don't know, maybe it ain't worth talking no more about tonight.
Yeah, my signs and rail line is 3,000, so there's another tidbit.
Is that something you'd be interested in looking into in the future, or you don't care? Just so you had one set of signs in the shed instead of...
I think it's perfect for streamlining what we need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing, the chief is getting this thing put together in his database, whatever it is that he had, and then we're gonna, he's gonna go through that work, or this volunteer's gonna go through that work, and then we're gonna change it on him next year. That was my ambition of wanting to just have a public hearing for the whole thing here sooner than later, but
Yeah. No, I think it's a great idea.
no, the money was the biggest issue for you, and so.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't do enforcement or anything like that, but, as far as us for maintenance, Makes that a whole lot easier, like you said, if somebody hits one or a plow truck, whatever happens. It's easy enough just for us to go to the sign shed and grab a sign, go out, put a post if we need to put a post, and get it done.
Well, maybe we could look at, more towards, get through the third quarter of the year, and maybe see how your year went, and see if there's $7,000 in the bottom line. Maybe. If you guys are interested in visiting more towards then.
Probably the best.
Certainly don't wanna ask him to do it now.
No.
Before we move on, anything else related to speed?
I guess just, so Selectman Pratt brought up earlier about, hey, there's a volunteer for the police department, and what are we doing about, so that is a volunteer now. We were talking about before, volunteer policies,
I
whatever.
think it was a
whatever.
volunteer for a, I already forgot who he said it was. I think it was for a,
GIS mapping.
yeah.
Yeah, so I don't wanna talk about it right this second, but I'm gonna try and take a note and hopefully not forget that if we could just make sure we're not boxing ourselves in with what we talked about earlier and what we just learned about a new volunteer. Just like 2 minutes in other business.
Okay. All right. Ready to move on to CMA landfill cap discussion? Director Fisk, thank you for your patience this evening.
Sure.
I think, 2 weeks ago you were here requesting to proceed with CMA for engineering of a landfill cap repair. I think that was somewhere around 50K, 47K. And after that meeting, you sent us some additional background, so I think that's about where we are today. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we deal with CMA already. They inspect our landfill for us, twice annually. When they did their inspection, they noticed we had an issue. So I've been working with them for the past year or so, trying to get this all figured out. We got some money through our town vote, and they sent us over a contract for engineering the plans to repair the landfill. And that's what I brought to you guys. You guys asked for a little bit more information. I sent that over, and yeah.
So you said about a year ago, we discovered the issue. The issue is the clogged pipe?
The issue is, stemmed from a clogged pipe.
Okay. I mean, I know it's the cap slipped, but the root of it is the clogged pipe?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
That's since been resolved, but, so essentially, if this can help a little bit, the landfill essentially has a bunch of garbage. There's a smooth liner on top of that, and then there's material on top of that as far as sand, loam. Now, since 88, 91, that landfill is capped in 2 separate times. There's been some upgrades in the materials used as far as the liners. They have texture. This particular one is smooth, so a little bit of water got in between that membrane and the material on top due to that clogged pipe, and that's what allowed the material to slide off of the landfill cap itself, the membrane.
Okay. And the replacement won't be smooth because it's a different material?
Oh, they're not replacing it. They're
It's just
gonna
fixing.
fix,
So it will still be smooth?
yes. Yep. Now this happened,
Did the membrane move or tear? They just gotta put dirt back on it.
well, so that's the thing, you gotta, with these repairs, you have to, remove all the soil around the damaged area, and then an inspector has to come out who inspects these, membranes. And then, if there is a rip or a tear or anything, they will patch in a newer membrane. But that's still kind of an unknown at the moment. Obviously, we found the clogged pipe, and that particular pipe leads right up to the drainage system where we had the failure. There's a pretty good chance that that's what happened. What CMA told me was that they didn't expect that, but that's always something that we have to keep in the back of our mind, that might have happened. Landfill cap ripped, but
They didn't expect a rip, or they didn't
They
expect that
didn't-
it would clog?
well, they don't expect that it's ripped. They expect the issue was caused by this clogged pipe.
Is the clogged pipe, a pipe freely flowing, something that they check in their inspections? Is it possible? Do they do it?
So I called up last week and asked her for any inspection reports that they have, if they did that, if they did draw anything up after they did that. And I was referred to their annual post-closure reports that they do for us, and that has a summary of their inspections on the back. So there's not necessarily a report form that they give to us after they've done theirs. It's just included in the post-closure report when they turn it into DES.
Does it have any information in there whether they check the pipes or not, the drains?
There is info regarding the drainage system in general, which includes the rip-wrapped swale around the outside of the landfill itself. That's about the actual failure there.
Which page?
You've seen a couple of these.
Yeah.
That one's signed by you, I think.
Not as gonna do them any good anyway, but might be worth giving them a jab in the rib, say, hey, we're hiring you to do this, but,
Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, we gotta fix it, doesn't matter, but.
yeah.
No, I
It
understand
just,
we have to fix it.
I would be on them and be like, hey, sharpen your pencil, cause this is your fault.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at,
Right.
is this just something that happened, or is it because they didn't find it when they were supposed to find it?
Right.
That's kind of the gist of my questioning.
Yep.
You know, was it a build-up to a failure that was missed? We had warning that it was gonna fail, but we didn't act on it, or it just happened? And
So-
there was no way to, we didn't see it, no one saw it, it
Yeah.
just happened.
I think Salem has the 23 report,
Yes.
and I think Janice, maybe you have the 22 report.
I have the 20.
I have a 22.
It doesn't say, from one year to the other, it doesn't mention clogged pipes or anything of the sort.
No, when there is, you wanna call deficiency or something, they verbally tell us.
Yeah,
They call us up like,
Yep.
hey, you need to,
Yep.
they were unhappy how late in the year we mowed it one time, and they called and said, hey, you gotta get on that, so.
yeah,
If they saw the clogged pipe, it's not like it's in a report and we should've read it, they would've called.
yeah. The 2 years that I've signed those reports, they've called if there's been anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Like one time they told us to cut the brush and rip soil.
Yeah.
Do we have a preventive maintenance program for the landfill itself, for the cap?
Well, other than
mean-
mowing it, we have it mowed once a year.
Yeah,
So this seems, and I know there's circumstances where a couple floods, but shouldn't there be something that says you should look after these things? Or, because I'm assuming you clean them out if they tell you they're clogged.
The pipes?
Yeah,
Yeah, we would have,
Yeah.
for sure.
so I would assume you can make that a preventive maintenance type program, check it in spring, check it in the fall, rather than waiting for someone to tell us there's an
Right.
issue.
Yeah, no, I agree, I think they should get a little bit of hell given to them for it.
Do we know if they ever offered us a preventive maintenance program? We suggest that these are the things that you do.
I don't know the answer, I guess.
There's some suggestions in those reports.
I don't know what those pipes are called. It does say in a storm water system condition, our culverts intact and free of obstructions. Of course, I don't know what year I'm reading.
I think that's 21, possible. Should,
But there is a line on there that says that.
Yeah, stormwater management system is in excellent condition, is effectively controlling stormwater. There are no signs of erosion or overstopping of stormwater features. Town removed brush from the swale in 2022. There's some woody growth that should be removed in 2023.
Was that done? Is that the one you're referring to in 23, where they said
This
remove
is-
some brush?
that should be the 22.
This is post-closure 2022 report.
But doesn't it say remove the brush by 23?
Should be removed in 2023.
Oh, so was that done?
Yes, it was. It's not the same pipe, but yeah. Yeah, and it's part of the cap that doesn't get mowed per se by the people who mow it because it is an invasive species. So, we have to kinda tread lightly with that one, where they are talking about in that report.
We get some knotweed back on there somewhere.
No, it's a different,
Oh,
this is their failure report.
For the slip.
All this stuff is available on DES's website, One Stop. They have all those reports electronically, everything that you have in front of you.
So their inspections, is this, I'm assuming we pay for this yearly? It's an annual thing we pay, it's not a contract that we have with them?
I sent you guys the last contract we had from 2018.
Okay. And that was just for the repair?
Nope,
No.
Okay,
professional services.
got it.
So is this the second repair,
Third, I believe.
third repair?
CMA did one in 96 and 2006.
In this report you just handed us, the August 2023.
Yeah,
They mention, hey, make sure you inspect if there's rain exceeding 1/4 of an inch or every 2 weeks. Did we do that?
yeah, that's just the, where it failed, just to make sure that it hasn't expanded anywhere. We did go out and put some silt fence up and, some straw wattles to make sure that, we could slow down any erosion that was happening.
Yeah, the questions I'm asking are driven by, we have done everything you've asked us every step of the way, and it still
Yep.
happened. And then tying into what Benji was saying, like, come on now.
Yeah, it's probable we'll get another 10-inch rain event sometime before this landfill goes away.
right.
So what can we do? Because we can't every 10, 15, 20 years be spending 150K. Is that just doesn't seem reasonable. I mean, maybe that's, we're gonna have to, I don't know, maybe that's the answer, but just doesn't seem right.
It's my belief that this failure was caused by that clogged pipe. I have no doubt in my mind. All the other ones that are free are flowing, and when it is a big rain event, I try to drive down there and check those out and make sure that stuff's working, and everything seems to be fine now. Obviously, we have this problem, but I talked with CMA, and like I stated before, it's the design of the cap itself. It's smooth. There's an issue with this happening with other places with the same cap, so.
I guess we need to talk then at some point about what kind of projection do we put into our long-term financial planning for maintenance, because if it's the cap itself is just prone to having these issues because of the type of cap that it is, then we're gonna have to be maintaining it for the life of the cap. So we're gonna have more than a little bit of money probably every so often. So how do we budget for that long-term?
Well, we've created a fund now,
Right.
so that's a step in the right direction. I was able, when this all happened, I was still interim, kind of running around with my head cut off, doing everything all at once. But we were still able to locate all of the pipes, mark them, make sure anybody who would be out there doing maintenance possibly knows where they are. I think a majority of the crew, except for the, I guess, 4 or 5 new hires that we have, know where they are. So that's a plus. Again, like Selectman Pratt was talking about, the kind of preventative maintenance schedule. I talked with the people who do the mowing. I asked him if while he's up there mowing that he could make sure to weed whack around all the pipes. They're all marked with a grade stake now, painted, so, I mean, we're moving in the right direction, but
They have something over the end of them so critters can't get up there? No. You don't suggest to?
not in any of the designs that I've looked at. Could be a good idea.
I think a piece of filter fabric or something, 'cause chipmunk could go up and plug that just as easy as the dirt, build up and plug it.
Yeah.
How does that, cause the pipe is, I mean, it's the length of the landfill, right?
There's sections in that. Do you still have that?
And I guess where I'm going with this, I don't, but
Is that the,
how, I mean, how do you know that the deepest part of the pipe is okay?
you'd have to run a camera up it. So,
When you start talking
Look for the top,
animals,
Right.
look for the map.
Is that the one?
August 23.
so that's when we first started digging around where the pipe was,
Oh, yeah.
and it was completely, covered up. And then when we found it, it was plugged and just a rush of water came out of there, so, I mean, it suggests to me that that was holding in the water, is what created. I think this is the top side, and it just, water got, there's a liner in there.
Yeah, there's another, I think it was in the other one,
Yeah.
where they showed where it's
So
exposed.
You're saying that it probably wasn't that deep in there as far as the clog.
No, I don't believe so. But yeah, anything could get up there.
Get a drone,
Sure.
send it up there.
RC car,
Yeah,
a GoPro.
exactly.
Well, they do make cameras that go through things like septic systems and stuff, so,
It's a bad joke.
I know. The drone,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, we could put up an annual inspection to get a septic camera up there. I don't know how much it would cost, but
Yeah, I don't either.
I just asked me to think it'd be a good idea to put some sort of cover over the end. But
Seems like that would be a cheap and, thing to do relatively.
I guess you need to know if we wanna vote on moving forward with them, right? Wouldn't mind giving them a jab in the ribs, telling them that we're not very happy they missed it, but at the end of the day.
Yeah, I had the question last time, like, are they liable by the contract? And the one you sent us, my reading is they are not, but,
yeah, was that in their general terms?
but I agree. It would be the, sporting thing to do.
It's aggravating it, I don't think nothing we can do about it, we need to move forward, but I don't wanna hang it up, but sometimes,
I
if we
didn't-
do go that way, say, hey, by the way,
I didn't see anything in the most recent updated contract we'd had with them that specifically says anything about those, per se, but.
Be careful.
they're not stupid, that's what they do, and other things, they're not gonna paint themselves in a corner for an act, you know, to be liable for an act of God, so. It's frustrating, but.
Yeah, we narrowed it down, I believe, personally, that it was the snow and rainstorm we had around Christmas of that year.
Washed everything else out around, so.
Yeah, reservoir was flooded out pretty bad. We had what it was, 8 inches, a foot of snow, and then 3 or 4 inches of rain right on top of it, so
Yep.
created a lot of problems.
I remember that day. So what do you need? You need a motion for what?
Yeah, I would just like to know whether or not we want to move forward with them, or if we want to put an RFP out for engineering services.
Well, I think we talked about the fact that if we put an RFP out, we're gonna have to start from scratch because we don't own the drawings. Is that
So it's
correct?
not that we don't own, we have copies of drawings. They're not gonna hand us over an editable, electronic document with their PE stamp on it.
Right, so any company that we select other than them is gonna have to generate, we're gonna have to come out and,
They'll do the same
Do it.
thing as far as us not owning.
right, but they're gonna have to start all that. And they're gonna have to do that baseline work that CMA's already done.
Yeah, we have, copies of the stuff, but. Do you guys still have the copy of the contract that I gave you a couple weeks ago? Do you wanna look at it again, or?
Is it, if we say yes, go ahead, do we lose any kind of bargaining power? Is it worth asking Director Fisk to at least make a friendly phone call to him?
To,
CMA, right? Yeah. Just ask.
But you're saying you believe this was a situational clog from an event, not necessarily buildup?
Yeah, that pipe was clogged for a while,
It was
long time, yeah.
probably through one of the inspections?
Oh, yeah.
lots of the
least
inspections,
one of the
that's what's
inspections.
aggravating, yeah.
The question is, why wasn't that looked at? Or why was it overlooked?
And if they failed to inspect, then would they do a good enough job on this next critical piece we're asking?
Right.
All their inspections say everything's running fine.
Do they even have competitors?
I'm sure there's another engineering firm that could draw up a repair. I mean, it seems basic
Okay.
drainage system, but I don't know if there's anybody who specializes in that. I mean, they're just a civil, environmental, structural engineering company. I'm sure there's more
Most of
that
them,
can do that.
most of them will have this discipline in their
Okay.
drawings.
I guess, I don't know.
Has
I
that
think
been
I'm
asked
inclined to put it
at
out
all
to bid.
to them, Jason, if, why a report never caught this? Have we ever asked them that?
I don't think the question has been raised.
It would be nice to get an answer to that.
Yeah, I don't think officially anybody's, tried to hold their feet to the fire on it yet.
And I wanna get this done this year as much as anyone, but
I mean, as far as I can see, their contract in 2018 says, up to DES requirements, the inspections, which is, that's punch list in those reports from DES, and if that doesn't say anything about,
I can't believe DES would not have them look at potential blockages that could destroy your whole system.
what's your, you got one of those reports?
No, I just get the 2018, maybe you're talking about.
When I mentioned the cap, it didn't mention any of the drainage. It said, asked if the cap looked like it was in visual good condition.
Yeah, it just asks if there's any pooling on the cap or, any evidence of slipping. Landfill restricted by gates, signs, access road, groundwater monitoring wells, surface water monitoring system, function maintained, sediment detention ponds.
The storm drain's in good condition, frame, grate, wall joints, pumps, sumps, pipes, inlet and outlet stone,
Yep.
and we got an NA.
What year was that?
We don't have that, do we?
No.
22. I mean, is there any downside to putting it out to bid? Because in their bid, they can say, hey, we're part of the way through the process already.
I do think that, once we get through the repair, we need to make sure that we explicitly say we want these pipes checked.
Yep.
Regardless of who does the next step.
Do you see any downsides, Jason?
Time? I'm not advocating either way, but just,
So we could proceed with CMA doing it and have somebody else do the inspections, switch companies after they do the repair, or we could put it out to bid now for the repair and future inspections. There's at least two options here, probably more than that.
I don't have a strong opinion, so it's kind of hard to.
Well, I think this is one of those times where we're gonna rely heavily on you, Selectman Knapp.
I probably would be doing the same thing Jason is up there with the engineering contract asking you to sign it, I'm sure it would get absolutely nowhere, call and give them hell about it. And tell
Make
them
us
that
feel
the
better.
selectmen are mad at me because, you know,
Blame it
I
on
signed a
us.
contract you guys didn't screwed up on. They'll have an excuse that wasn't part of it or something.
Well,
I
that's
would-
good
I would
info
give
to
'em-
know, because if it's not, we need to correct that. going
Yeah, and if for some reason that, I don't know, they should have, I don't, guess I know why, I didn't report why it slipped last time, I think it was very similar reason. It was heavy rain, I don't know if it was a clogged pipe or not, but, that was Mother's Day floods and everything, so.
96, 2006 extraordinary rain levels, rain events, 10+ inches.
Which, as you already stated, as I remember, I was, as new at my job as you were at this one. We did have 8 to 10 inches of wet, heavy snow, with 3 inches of rain, so we got all that rain and all that snow melt in 6 hours.
Oh yeah, it was
So if
fast.
you take what they claim that amount of snow is and add that back into rain and the amount of time it came. Cause we went from salting roads in the morning to putting roads back together at night, to cutting trees out of the road, and it flash froze, it got to 12 degrees that night. It was the most unreal weather event I've ever been part of, but it was an astronomical amount of water in less than 10 hours. So, still doesn't excuse the fact they didn't see the clogged pipe.
Yeah, but just the difference between the 96 repair and the 2006 repair, or the installation of these under drain pipes, right? That wasn't, they weren't there. and
This one
that
must
was
have, cause
part
the other side slid on the other one, in '06.
Yeah, so there's,
The west side slid on that time.
I think that was part of the 2006 repair, was putting these underfill caps on these pipes in.
I don't remember, I
there's
weren't,
5 pipes, and I think there's been now 3 areas that have failed.
yeah, and I obviously don't know the '96, it was the opposite side of the landfill in '06. I
Yeah.
don't remember them doing work on this side, I don't think they put pipes in or nothing, but I could be wrong. I wasn't involved in any of it, but.
I think the 23 closure report over there. Be a thick one. So, each of these represents a pipe. So there's a pipe here, there's a pipe here, pipe here, pipe here, pipe here. These are 2 areas where it's failed prior. So this pipe here is the one that was plugged, and it wouldn't let any of the water from this part of the slope come out. So they'll be putting in one of these systems essentially, is what it would be,
Over in this area.
in this area here where it slipped.
What's the date on that?
Probably 2006.
Seven. The last revision. I don't know what was put in.
I don't have a magnifying glass
I
with me.
don't know.
The only thing you'd probably do is take a picture of it and blow that up.
Issued for record drawings. Yes, 12/07, but
Probably to give it to
where's,
You see that, Jay?
yeah, that was the initial revision on it. Is there an older? Yes, there's. It's probably the same.
Well, yeah, I don't know, is that your recommendation, is to go with that?
That's the pipe that failed, that was covered up, so this whole slope here, I know you weren't there, we had stuff, but this whole slope here just kinda sloped down a little. These are two previous repairs, here's another pipe, another pipe, another pipe. That's the last one.
Yeah, in the hopes to get it done as quick as possible, it'd be great just to move on with these guys. I mean, they already do the work, we already have somewhat of a contract with them. On the other hand, you know, it's a lot of money, personnel policy, or not personnel policy, purchasing policy. Says we gotta go to bid.
So the last repair was 2006.
Yeah.
So we've gone almost 20 years, 18, 17 years with no negative impact, but we have a clogged drain that now we know is definitely a maintenance issue. So the work itself is probably up to par. So I don't see any issue not going with these people, but I think if they could offer us any type of mitigation strategy to avoid these situations, I think we know if we're expecting large water, snow events, or whatever, we check them prior to the event just to make sure we're in good standing.
Yeah, after this happened, I don't have a, you know, a policy written down on paper, but we have a maintenance plan, essentially.
A maintenance plan specifically for the cap, or for the facility.
For the landfill cap itself. I mean, like I said, there's nothing written down on paper, but, you know, it gets mowed. I've asked the people who mow it to weed whack around those pipes so they don't get overgrown like they did. I have been inspecting the failure after all this rain and stuff that we've been having. It takes, you know, probably 20 more minutes just to walk around the edge to the other 4 pipes to check on those. Other than that, I'm not sure what else we can do as far as
Maybe
making
there
sure
isn't
they all
anything,
work.
But if they could offer whatever they can offer, you know, we want this thing to last, you know, 20 years and 150,000, whatever, because it slipped, but if we could extend that life and understand it could be better if we did certain things.
Mhm.
That's all we're looking for. And then put it in a form or paper annually, this is what we do, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter.
Yep.
I feel where we have a contract with them, we can kind of go sole source and head on with them.
Yep.
Just make me feel better if you give them hell about it when we talk to them. Like, no, ask them why they didn't catch it. But won't get nowhere. That's my feel. I don't know if we'd even get anybody, you know, who knows, I guess, what would happen, but things are busy now.
Yep.
BS says it needs to be done sooner than later. We kinda told the townspeople it has to be done right now, which is true.
It most likely won't get done this year if we put for someone else.
Right.
That's the reality of the situation.
Definitely.
Yeah,
What was it? You wanna make a motion? You wanna, do you have a, sorry, I'm blanking on what, do you have a proposed contract in front of you that you want us to sign?
Yeah, I gave it to you guys a couple weeks ago. I have a copy of it if any of you
Just
guys
making
want to
sure.
see it.
Does it have a number on it?
Yep, 669. CNA
Okay.
number.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion that we, and are you looking to sign it, or do you want the chair to sign?
Just has one spot, authorized signee, so
Uh,
you guys can have me do it, you can have Chair do it.
I'm gonna make a motion that we authorize the chairman of the Board of Selectmen to sign this agreement with CMA Engineers, agreement number 669, landfill slope capping system failure engineering design services.
In the amount of,
Second page.
It's 40, I'm saying 43. Does that sound right, 43? Yeah, okay. For a total of 43,000. To come from the, what do we call that fund? The landfill cap repair fund?
I don't remember.
Okay, put a pin in that one.
I can find it.
I think it was called landfill maintenance.
I'd have to check with the town.
I think he's looking it up.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, is it on the wall out there? Awesome.
Oh, is it out there?
And it does say in there, I just read, they could start work in 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, it'd be good to get it behind
I
us.
feel that that makes it kind of a sole source type of deal.
Landfill repair and maintenance cap reserve fund. All right, that is the motion.
My second.
All right, seconded. Sorry, not to steal your thunder.
No, it's the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
I just.
She gets all
You
the,
to say seconded.
she gets all the glory autographing it.
Yeah. So Salem made the motion, and it was seconded by Selectman Knapp. Any further discussion?
We discussed it right to death.
Yep. Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 Heard four. Any objections? I'll abstain.
Want this one?
Do you have a copy you want signed? I wrote on the one you gave me last time we were together, which is something you should know about me. I write on everything, so don't give me the original on anything,
I'm saying over here.
'cause I write on everything.
It's late.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be a short meeting.
Me
Didn't see too many things.
Me too.
My back won't start.
Okay.
Belly button's pinched my back now. Not really.
All right. Has everybody signed the manifests?
No.
Do you have at least 3 signatures on them? Do you know?
Good with me?
I think so. Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
you, sir.
evening,
Thank you.
Thank you.
or good night.
Parks and Rec gave a shout out. She said my name, but I'd like to put forth that the crew did a pretty big stroke of business down there in one day. They did a real good job.
Wonderful.
So yeah, they did put in some hard work that day. So I just want to make sure that they get their credit too.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you saying that.
Sign here's. These sign here stickers, nice improvement.
Those ones we missed last week.
Well, still a nice improvement.
All good?
Empty. All good.
All right, thank you very much for checking. I'd like to make a a motion to order the treasurer to sign the payroll and accounts payable checks dated May 9th, 2024, as included in the following manifest. Payroll, $75,786.78, and accounts payable manifest, $134,454.05, for a total of $210,240.83. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion or any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say yes.
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 I heard 5. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Great. That passes 5-0-0. Okay. We have the minutes from April 22nd.
I haven't looked at them. Don't let me stop anybody else.
We won't. As long as the majority of us can vote. Everybody other than Salem look at these?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. All right. You usually have good notes, go ahead.
I got the, in the present section, I believe Greg White is the alias of Greg Smith.
I did it again. Thank you.
You got lines 94, 95, and 102. Cypress should be capitalized. Or Cypre, right? Again, I don't understand the context of it anymore, but 147 had audits of roads, and a question mark, I don't know why.
Says Selectman Bloom asked if DPW Director Fist had audits of the road. DPW Director Fist said no, they could have audits if they had the software to do it.
I think it was audits of the roads. I think that's, you were talking about all the roads in
Yep.
the town, yeah.
Yep.
So 147 roads should be roads.
Yep,
Okay,
that's all I had.
all right. Line 33, my name is spelled incorrectly.
Is too. And 23.
Okay. Nope. Line 170, 2 office detail should be 2 officer detail.
What number? 170?
170. 2 office should be 2 officer. And after line 200, I wrote down an action from that week that Chief Moore was to provide us with a single source justification. And after 229, whenever you're ready.
What number?
229. We summed that discussion up, and I'm not sure if we talked about it here or when we got to the administrator's report later, but there was an action taken sometime during the night regarding contacting MRI about a temporary person to fill in.
Because I also need to know who he's contacted, so I don't double again.
Right.
And that's the first I've seen him since last week.
Okay. But we capture the any contact MRI action, okay. And then line 311. Mr. Pratt came back into the meeting room. We were still in non-public session. It said exited.
So it just says meeting room while the board was still in non-public?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
If I understand that change, is it worth making that a little more active in that he didn't just like wander back in, but we asked him?
Yeah, that's fine. This is what it says. Came back into the meeting room when the board exited the non-public session.
And that's not quite accurate.
Right, that's definitely not true.
Right.
We were still in non-public.
Yeah, I would say the board asked Mr.
Invited.
Pratt to return.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of April 22nd as amended.
Moved.
Thank you. Anyone want to second that?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say yes? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain?
Yes.
Okay, I have 401 abstention from Selectman Bloom. We just got the April 29th minutes today, so I recommend we look at those next week. Give everybody a few days to look at those. Okay. I think that brings us to administrator's report.
Parks and Rec, you interviewed, Flanders Memorial, we're gonna come up with that, and it's gonna have to be June 3rd, just because of the timing. I did not get a report from Katie, so sorry about that, so I did not email it to the board, so it was not emailed. To finalize the signatures, on the reviews, are we gonna do that tonight or not? I have the originals.
We didn't have Jason's to email out to everybody, so if you could email that out, and we'll definitely do that next week.
Okay, for next week, so. 5/13/2024, I did get an email from a gentleman, and our legal limits are correct with Primex, so we can put that out to bid for legal services.
Okay, great,
Okay.
send it.
The, permit, I sent you guys all a Zoom link today if you're available for Thursday. I also have posted it right here, so you guys all have it. It's posted outside the door at the post office if you're able to. Shouldn't be 2 hours, but I have scheduled it for 2 hours. Reappointments you did tonight. Ethics Committee, they're in the middle of creating a PowerPoint and to do some training as required, and they've run into some questions that they'd like to ask the board. So they've asked if they could meet next week with the board to ask about a few questions. So they've asked to be put on the agenda, so I
Is
didn't
there
wanna
anything
forget.
they can send us in advance to
I can
prepare?
ask, it was Luke was gonna come in Wendy's place, cause Wendy was gone on vacation, but I'll ask for information ahead.
Anything they can have of,
Yep.
help us prepare, that would be amazing.
And then I had put down below, review non-public minutes of 3:26 and 4:22 next week, but we can look at next week's agenda when we get there.
Okay.
ZBA reappointments, they're meeting tomorrow night, so you should have at least 4. You will not have a 5th one, cause one of the gentlemen can't make tomorrow night's meeting, one of the new members, so he's asked to come in front of June. So I'm not sure if you wanna do the 4 on the 13th, or how you wanna do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm thinking, yeah, because we
So,
put them off for a while already.
well, right, 'cause we were waiting to attend a
Yeah.
meeting, which is
Right.
tomorrow night,
Right.
yeah. I will just ask for a little bit of guidance. We did take and go to Indeed. We went to NHMA, we went to the building officials, and we got one today from the building officials. We've got one from the NHMA website. We got 4, I think, from Indeed, and then I had one already. So,
Wow.
we've got some. The only thing is, I just need some for you guys, is your ad said you wanted a resume, cover letter, and an application. The Indeed ones just send a resume. Do you want me to forward that back and ask for a cover letter and a town application? Or are you gonna get hung up on that?
I don't think that's a big deal to me.
Is that just because of the way it's structured?
Well, it's just the way we advertise, I'm asking for clarification, 'cause you did get one with all of them.
No, what I'm
Yeah,
asking,
that
it
would-
came from Indeed, all 3 came from Indeed that way, is that just because
Yeah, they
that's
just
the-
send their resume. That's all, their resume came.
Because that's how we asked for it.
No, we posted the whole ad.
Oh.
And it came that way. We posted it in every place.
The
It
same.
says on the bottom that you have 3, you have to do a cover letter, a town resume, cover letter, a resume, and a town application. I got 2 that's complete.
I don't remember what it was, if it was minutes taker, something last year, we ran into this. I think we just looked at them all and,
I mean, I
Kept that-
have it,
kept that
I
in
can
mind.
send it to them if you wanna turn it around. And then I'd like to you guys to take some time and look through what we have.
Yeah.
But, we just got 4 this morning from Indeed, I don't know if you're gonna get any more. So do you wanna schedule next week to see what you got and decide what you wanna do? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, that gives a whole nother week to get some in, right?
yeah. Some, I mean, they're very short, some resumes are long, so I'm not, but I don't wanna leave it hanging out too long, 'cause
No.
you can spend a lot with Indeed to not get a lot. But I will tell you that in the municipal listserv, most everybody used Indeed, which I was totally surprised with. A good share of them used Indeed, some used, obviously, the free ones, which is the building officials and the NHMA. So, do you want to look at what I have next week?
I think so.
And we can narrow it down to interview the following week?
Sounds good to me. Okay.
Let's see, the building permit, I don't know that I've added anything other than I did add on the, to itemize the legal bills each time I added that, so I wouldn't forget. I was not able to attend the, Mildred Hall, so I have no idea that outcome. That was on 5-1. I could try to find out. But if it is a go, you're still gonna have to have a public hearing because it's over the $5,000 if you wanna do that.
Yeah.
So I can find out what the answer was on that. Do you want me to see what the outcome was?
Yeah, if they have any, that'd be great.
But if they call to be put on the agenda, it's gonna take 2 weeks of when I get notification, if that's a move forward. So then, again, with the holiday, you're gonna be looking at the same night as Flanders Memorial.
crowded.
And like I said, I had not seen, it's the first I've seen him, I don't even know why. I mean, he wasn't asked to be put on the agenda, but he was gone last week, to his defense.
Okay.
He was in Pennsylvania.
Did we get any updates this, past week on the River Road Bridge?
She canceled our meeting on us.
Oh, jeez.
She had get pulled out to another, I sent an email today to see what we had for an update, but I didn't get a response. She canceled our meeting because she had to go to a emergency bridge meeting or something, so she canceled.
see down here under the building projects, HVAC in the basement vault, is that a repair or is it an issue?
That's
or-
something if, Benji, you might remember, and so would Salem, is, that was a project, that's the, there's a, I guess it's a heater in the basement downstairs?
There's a heater in like the vault within the.
In the vault, and so what's happened is the heater doesn't work. So at the time, it's very musty down there, papers are getting damp. So, I almost think it was Kevin, maybe met with, Granite State Plumbing and Heating to come up with a system that would come out through the outside and have HVAC so that the paperwork's not all damp. Because when you go down and get anything down there, it's very damp and it smells like an old basement. But the quote was $13,000 to do it, so it was,
Would a dehumidifier do the job? I'm assuming there's probably not a drain down there, but I don't know that.
no, have you been in the vault here?
Yeah, I
Okay,
just don't
so in
remember.
the corner, there's I call it a heater.
Yeah.
That was downstairs.
Right.
I could see if the electrician could see what it takes to do it. There's an awful lot of paper down there that, I don't know if it'd catch fire, I mean,
No,
it'd be
just
long
the-
before we knew it,
The,
'cause no one
we
goes in
don't
there.
need it heated. We don't need it air
No, it was just
conditioned.
to-
It's
to-
just to get the dryness
Yeah,
in the air.
the paper's damp,
Right,
yeah.
and a dehumidifier might solve that problem without having a
Yeah.
HVAC solution.
No, it was an expensive solution, and we
Yeah.
decided to hold off. He gave me everything he was gonna do, we could put quotes out, but again, you'd have to put an RFP, it's over $5,000.
Yeah.
You can't just get a quote.
Next question is there a way to drain it or pump it out?
Or would somebody have to go down there every day and empty the bucket?
Well, you can also, a dehumidifier,
Yeah.
I've seen it, you can pipe the little hose up
Right.
and
Yeah, that's
run
what
it
I say, I
out,
don't know if
run
there's
it
a
out
drain down there.
into something, and so you don't have to empty the bucket.
Yeah, if there's a drain.
I haven't been down there in like a year, but it would work in that first room, but in my head, that room is more like a,
Somebody have
Like
to
a
go in
metal
and out of
lined-
there every day.
yeah, I mean, maybe you could drill through it, but it seems like
There's a
really
lot
solid.
of stuff in that room, just because when Mr. Drescher died, they returned all those boxes, so those are stacked up. And
Before
then
town council.
town council, and then, Laura just purged and brought over 7 years' worth of stuff, so there's boxes downstairs that has to be gone through, and Maureen's ballots are down there in the cage that we spent money on. Those are boxed up and taped up, but
Has, Tim looked at it?
Good industrial.
anything to do with electricity, I can't have him
No,
touch.
but just from a solution standpoint, has he looked
He's
at
been
it?
in there,
But one of them
I didn't ask for a solution. I can,
It's like a
Maybe you
bank
can
vault.
ask him, would it be possible to put any kind of dehumidifier in there instead of a heater, air conditioner system?
I know I
There's possibilities.
grabbed an old police file, cause somebody was coming to look at it, and you would've swear, I was in the basement. That's how the file had that much with it, smell with it.
Anything else on the report?
I don't add anything more to it.
All right, we had some correspondence from, Mr. Smith and Mr. Mann and Mrs. Mann, and I think we've covered those in the course of the conversations this evening, but if anybody thinks we haven't, please bring that forward.
No, I think you addressed it.
Okay. All right, so I think the only thing we needed to do tonight, other than set the agenda, and if you guys had anything else to talk about, would be the Chase Park.
Yeah, can I just pass these down while you guys talk? Those are the 3 appointments you just did.
Sure. So So I think we're looking for a motion to make the 11 hires that we interviewed earlier today.
I'll move that we hire, all candidates interviewed, at the beginning of this meeting, as listed on the sheet handed out to us, including the one in front of the chairman. Which includes their various rates and positions.
I don't think I added the positions.
Oh, sorry, I wrote that on mine.
I wrote them on mine.
Oh, I didn't, sorry.
No surprise, I wrote all over it, but you can copy it. Okay, Salem has moved to hire all on the list. Would anyone
Second.
like to second? Thank you, James. Okay, any further discussion or any discussion? Hearing
It's a
none?
good batch.
Yeah, I was impressed, very impressed. All in favor, say aye or yes?
Yes.
Yes. I heard 5, but anyone no? Anyone abstain? Okay. That
Yes, I
passed.
do have one more. Mr. McGowan, I didn't get by the cemetery and I didn't ask Jason. Mr. McGowan is the gentleman that's doing the cleanup and he said the back right corner of Center Square, there's this debris here. I'll pass it down. And he's given a quote. It hasn't been done yet. According to what I received, the email's attached there, the quote's attached there in the picture. And the last time we asked him to ask before doing it. I can ask Jason if you want. I don't know when Jason's gonna start ramping up for the work, because they're off call now.
Well, he's gonna clean up everything in this picture for that amount, that is less than I'd do it for.
For that amount?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
didn't
think it's
know.
fair,
I
I guess.
didn't know, okay. Well, I know we asked him to come here first.
Yep.
1, 2, 3,
Well, appreciate it.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12,
I
13.
don't think that's a lot of money.
I didn't
for
say the
that.
number in my motion.
Okay.
I didn't include the number.
Okay.
I just said all candidates interviewed tonight.
I can't count?
Just making sure it didn't go sideways.
No?
I didn't know if 120 was,
I think it's
I haven't been
reasonable,
over.
I guess, I mean, it's a lot of little tiny stick picking, and some very big ones you'll have to cut.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm sorry, I missed a little bit there when I was counting. Is this,
it's Center Square. It's the, one, when you first come down the hill on the right-hand side, not the left to Buzzell Hill. It's where the quote for the headstones was done. Older section, right-hand side, before the same side of the road as the Red Barn, kinda
but
toward.
it is, okay, this work has not been completed.
No.
I guess is where I'm getting. Okay, cool.
No, he brought the quote here first. Oh, sorry.
Seems reasonable to me.
Does anyone want a motion that?
Make a motion to pay out to Michael McGowan, amount of $120 for quote number 155, to remove heavy branch from the back right corner of Center Square Cemetery, 1794.
Hopefully he's cleaning up all that debris.
Second?
So, discussion, I think you just said, make sure he's cleaning up at all, not just removing the big branch. Is that,
Yeah, 'cause he is cleaning it up, right, Naomi? That's what he's doing. He's
I
there to
will,
clean
I
up
will
the
make it clear
cemetery.
on my return.
Everything in the picture.
The heavy branch and debris, as depicted in the picture, said, along
Yes.
with the quote.
Yes. I'd assume so. He'd have to drive over the other branches into that one, but just to make sure, yes.
do you concur with the change, James?
Concur.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say yes or aye.
Yes.
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 Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Okay.
So, are you down to the 13th, or
I'm sorry?
are you down to the 13th?
Unless anybody has anything for other business.
Just had a couple things. A couple weeks ago, I mentioned the attorney charges, the statements were being reviewed, and we haven't done that since I've been on.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't, you want me to go back and do them? Or usually the bills come in, which I expect them to in this week, both of them, because it's the first of the month. I can go back and do April, is that what you're asking?
Well, when the next one comes in.
Yeah,
then
so
we
I
can
put
do
it
all
on
of
mine
them.
so I wouldn't forget.
Yeah, can we do all of them together?
April and May?
Yes.
What about March?
March wasn't done
March
either.
and April? Sure.
The AOT permit information,
I found the folder, but I didn't go looking for the
Okay.
permit yet.
that's fine, so we located it anyway. And have we done anything with the complaint that came in last week? The one that we discussed, or,
Yeah, well, I was, the last week's complaint,
yeah,
I did not, and I can forward it to the owner. I don't know, is that proper to forward with the gentleman's email? I can redact his email
I think
address.
you have to redact it, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can
I
do
think
that.
anything that identifies the complaint would need to be.
Well, that's
redacted.
kind of, he put his name, and where, it wouldn't take long to figure out where he lived, but
Or
I also gotta get an email address for the gentleman.
could we just create an email and include whatever pictures were provided,
Okay.
rather than
Right.
Yep.
forward that?
Okay. Without the pertinent information, or without the personal information.
Yes.
I also need to find an address or an email for that gentleman, but I can call and get one from the business.
Okay. And there was one more correspondence from Mr. Fulton about the Big Trees presentation taking place at Dunbarton Public Library tomorrow night.
Oh.
Forget what time it was, but I think it was 6:30.
You said there's one identified in where? I wonder where that is.
What's it called, a bid?
Big trees.
Big
present.
Trees presentation. I think it's
Is-
Big Trees in New England.
6:30, Dunbarton Public Library.
Well.
Well,
I have to be
guess it's
here.
an author who
I
wrote
have
the
to be
book.
here, so,
Darn it.
interesting.
That's all I got.
Okay. Anything from anyone else?
Mentioned the PD volunteer. Do we need to do anything with our changes from earlier?
This person's volunteering for what?
GIS mapping of, was it road signs?
Yeah, it's a GIS mapping.
He's not entering any households or dealing with children or
Technically dealing with old people.
driving by them. I don't know exactly what,
Chief's not that old.
Yeah, I would say that based on our criteria of, working with children, elderly, or collecting money, that would not qualify for requiring a background check, that's your question, right?
Yeah, I'm just making sure, cause we, you
Yep.
know, we moved some
Nope.
pieces around.
Yep.
Okay. And then we talked about town council RFP, so is that officially going out today? Or, you know, Wednesday, I guess?
That's what I heard a few minutes
Yeah.
ago. Ready to send.
So, I've got,
Anything, James?
Did you want me to check with the PD? Is that what you asked? What he's doing, or
No, I think we're good.
it
I think
doesn't
we're
fall
all-
to your, okay.
No, I think we're also,
I just wanna make sure we didn't put our foot in something
Right.
immediately.
No, no.
We went from no volunteers to all of a sudden we had one.
exactly. I thought that too, I'm like, ah, jeez.
Okay.
So, agenda for the 13th, we've got the 3 Parks and Rec summer hires that we didn't get in here tonight.
Yeah, how long do you wanna give them? Fairly quickly.
5 minutes is
Same.
plenty.
I mean,
So
schedule it for 20 minutes, but 5 minutes apiece, and gives us 5 minutes to wrap up.
So if I,
We always go long.
so you wanna start at 7? Like, tonight we went over 15 minutes when we thought we were done.
We won't have that level of discussion on next
Okay.
week.
So what do you wanna start for call to order?
6:50, 6:55?
Yeah, we can start, yeah.
Then I have, public comment, reappoint of committee members, cause you're gonna have 4 from ZBA.
So how many openings and how many potential candidates are there for ZBA?
So there's, the 2 that are up are now full members. And that would make their board complete, whoever, there's 2, to answer your question.
Okay, and do they have any, alternates?
So they can have up to 5, and there's none right now.
So are they wanting to appoint all 4 to, or, do you know?
I'll know more tomorrow.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if you had any
No.
discussions with them preliminarily. Okay,
And then I have ethics committee, which I'll get you more information after the reappointments. I don't know where you wanna put, if there is anything for department head committee items.
I don't know if we have anything that we could talk about with, the police chief regarding the towers, but, if we have plans, stamped plans yet.
I didn't get the indication that we got plans yet.
Yeah, I meant by next
Oh.
week. You know, I don't know. Obviously, we don't know if we have them tonight.
No.
We can always put that on the following week if we get them. The
Can I-
changes to the personnel policy to integrate the fire department HR policies.
Building inspector.
Yeah, building inspector, resume review to down select for interviews. Any feedback from the engineering RFP from the planning board?
The
I'm
meetings
just
are.
throwing stuff out, I'm not
Yeah,
saying we have to
no,
do all
I'm
this stuff.
just- I know.
I was gonna say, we're gonna be in the next day
No.
already.
No, I'm just throwing stuff out.
Alright.
Cause you, I had the non-public minute policy amendment,
Yep.
the review of the 2 sets of non-public minutes.
Yeah, and that requires a non-public to do that.
Right.
So that has to be last or first. I would say last.
So pull this one down to the bottom. Well, where are you gonna draw your line? I mean,
Well, I definitely wanna do the building inspector,
Yeah.
code enforcement, resume review.
yeah, I knew
Okay.
that one.
We've got parks, summer hires, and ZBA appointments.
Right?
And that'll be a
And then
non-public,
and then the ethics
Ethics.
committee.
and that would be a non-public too, right? So we could call our 2 non-publics and end the night.
The building inspector?
Yeah, the building inspector and the minutes. No?
Makes sense.
If we were gonna still do the minutes, unless we're scratching them off.
Shouldn't take.
It shouldn't take long, I mean, they're very short.
Yeah.
If I recall, I could be wrong, but I thought they were short.
I'm hoping that there's enough building inspector resumes that will take a minute to discuss, so I'd allow enough time to, before it's too late to be all too tired to go over.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully, they're not all just a
Are
bunch
you
of
putting the
no's.
personnel policy on,
I just threw it out as a discussion point for what to put on the agenda.
'Cause right now we have 6, Naomi, is that what you said earlier?
I think there's
Yeah.
7 of them altogether.
It could be a while. Might
And if
not
you
be a
get more
while.
this week, you've got some good ones, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Well, on
So
paper.
do you think that's like 30 minutes? 45 minutes?
We're kinda breezing over to pick, hopefully, more than one to interview, is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Well, I would hope you'd pick maybe 3.
Right.
That's a good round number.
I'm just saying, I'm
Yeah.
hoping there's that many good ones.
Yeah, I
out
think
there.
you guys can pick through them in a half an hour or less.
Okay.
I have faith. So I just have a question though on that, the policy tonight you amended. Do I fix that or do we wait for next week for more input? You made a motion to remove a section. Do I want me to take that section out and repost it, or do I wait until another week?
I think you should go ahead and amend it. That's my thought. We can discuss this for sure. Amend it, because if we do it again, it would be a second amendment.
Okay.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right.
it happens.
And
For
I,
some reason we feel
the-
that we'll have to do it again, but
just, David asked, the building permit ordinance has been updated. I have to upload that.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
I tried this afternoon, but I didn't wanna delete something I shouldn't have, 'cause it said, do you wanna cut the link? And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so.
So I think that gives us next week the park and rec hires,
Yep,
the ZBA appointments, ethics,
yep,
building inspector resume reviews,
mhm.
and non-public minutes from 3:26 and 4:22.
And then your traditional.
Yep.
Okay.
And
Yep.
that's non-public, public, non-public, non-public.
Say that again?
Yes.
Yeah. So starting non-public for interviews, and then public, ethics, and the other one. And then non-public for your ZBA and ethics. And then non-public for minute review and resume review.
I believe so. I thought you were gonna put the building inspector, code enforcement, and the, review of minutes just before you adjourn.
Yeah.
Right.
So you do all your either non-public, do your meeting, non-public.
Right.
Took me a minute, sorry.
I think everybody's on the same page, we just said it different.
Yeah, it's just been,
Okay. All right, motion to adjourn if there's nothing else.
Second.
oh, that's right, this is not working, but.
Okay. All in favor, say yes or aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yes, 5. Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Have a great evening.
Two.
Right.
Do you want that?
You can flip that,
Look at it on-
thank you.